Thank you so much for joining us this evening for our Country Director webinar. My name is Jessie Wachter. I've been with Rustic Pathways for about 10 years now. I'm formerly the director of our Tanzania programs, but I've run programs in quite a few of our countries, probably about 10 or 11 countries. So I'm always happy to answer any questions that come up about any of our programs. Throughout the presentation, we're going to be joined by an esteemed panel of some of our country directors, mostly from Asia and the South Pacific. If you have any questions, please do type them in throughout the presentation. Most of the time is actually going to be dedicated to questions and answers from you guys. We will have some time at the end as well if we don't get to your question. And I actually have one of my wonderful colleagues, Emily, behind the scenes, who'll be answering some of those questions in line as well that we don't get to in the presentation. So without further ado, for those of you who are new to us, I'm going to talk a little bit about Rustic Pathways. If you're brand new, give you a little bit of information behind the scenes. We're going to talk about our early enrollment period, which we are in right now. It goes until October 14th for new students and September 16th for returning students. We will introduce our wonderful country director panel, and then we'll get to your questions. And also at the end of the presentation, I will talk a little bit about how to enroll. Since we do have a new website, we've had some people with some questions about how to navigate, and I can go through that a little bit with you. So at Rustic Pathways, we really do see ourselves at the intersection of education, travel, and philanthropy. This is a fantastic time in students' lives. We actually have programs in 17 different countries, about 100 different programs to choose from. 75 to 80% of them are service oriented, and we have programs for students ages 12 to about 22 years old, so middle school, high school, and even college summer programs and gap programs. So a really wide range of programs for different interests, for students looking for a different type of experience, but to give them a little bit more of a global perspective. We've also had students from more than 60 different countries join us last year. So even when your student is coming from your home country and joining a program in another country, they're also going to be joined by students from around the world that gives that added dynamic, which is really fun. So thank you again for joining us to learn a little bit more about our programs. You've got a big decision coming up. As I mentioned, we are right now in our early enrollment period. So from usually about mid-August until mid-September for, as I said, alumni, or mid-October for new students, we offer a pretty significant discount. So it's about half off for alumni and 20% off, which is one of the best discounts we'll offer for all of our programs throughout the year for new students. So that's something to keep in mind. One of the added benefits of getting in during early enrollment is that if you can get in by that deadline, not only do you get a discount, but you have until March 1st to lock everything in. So one of the biggest questions we get during this time is like, students are just getting back into school. It's been the craziness after summer, and how can I possibly decide on a program for next summer? We totally understand that. You now have until March 1st to solidify everything. So you can cancel for a full refund. You can make changes to your program selection or your travel dates up until March 1st. It gives you 4 or 5 months, depending on when you enroll, to really lock everything in and figure out your summer schedule. And so don't worry about choosing the perfect program or the dates that you're going to be able to travel next summer, because you can still make changes up until March 1st. And I'd like to introduce our wonderful country director panel today. We have, as I mentioned, country directors from Southeast Asia, Asia, and South Pacific. If you missed our webinar yesterday, we did have a recording of that, and we will send that out automatically. So don't worry, you can get all of the information from our panelists from yesterday's webinar. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce Evan from Fiji.
Hello everyone, Evan Wells, Country Director for Fiji and New Zealand. I've actually been with Rustic Pathways for about 24 years, and I'm coming from you today from the beautiful Sunshine Coast in Australia.
Yeah. And Sam.
Hi, good evening everyone. My name's Sam, I'm the Country Director for Australia. I've been with Rustic for almost 10 years now, and I'm calling from Melbourne. We've got an office down here in Australia, and we're down here year round. So thank you for joining us this evening.
And we've got Lexi.
Hi everyone, my name is Lexi. I am the Cambodia and Vietnam Country Director. I've been with Rustic for over 6 years now, and tonight I'm calling from Philadelphia. Go Eagles!
And next up, Brian. We may have lost Brian's connection.
Thanks, Jesse. My name is Brian Haggerty. I'm the director of Thailand, Laos, and Myanmar. I've been with Rustic for 13 years. Very happy to be joining you all tonight from Vermont, northern Vermont. So nice to be with you all.
Last but not least, we've got Amanda.
Hi guys, I'm Amanda Cortez. I'm the China-Mongolia Country Director. I've been with Rustic for about 4 years, and I am joining you guys from lovely Reno, Nevada. Way nicer than it sounds, I promise.
Awesome, thanks guys. So as we get started, I know that we are being joined tonight by a mix of alumni, students, parents, and new students as well. So I want to talk a little bit about if you are joining us for the first time and you'd like to learn a little bit more, perhaps your friend from school came home from their trip and they're raving all about it and you want to learn about our programs. We'd like to talk a little bit about some of the programs that might be a good fit for first timers. Some students come to us and they're looking for something a little bit more comfortable. Maybe this is their first time either traveling outside the country or even just your first time traveling without your parents. And you're looking for something maybe a little bit more comfortable amenities, something like Western toilets, hot running water. You're not quite ready to sleep on the ground in a mosquito net with pit latrines, that's okay. So we'll talk a little bit with our country directors for some suggestions about what might be good introduction programs. We do have programs in pretty much almost every country that might be a good fit. Some countries like Mongolia might be a little bit better for a returning student or someone who has a little bit more travel experience under their belt. But we might start with a place like Thailand, which is a really popular destination for first-time travelers. Brian, can you tell us some of the programs that you might recommend for first-time travelers?
Absolutely. So in Thailand, we actually have a bunch. It's a great place for first-time travelers. You wouldn't think so because it's quite far away, but the amenities are absolutely amazing. The infrastructure is great. The healthcare is great. The people are fantastic. So some of the best programs that we have for first-time travelers include the Rice Fields Monks and Smiling Children. That's at the Rice Fields base, which is like our international service base over there. It's very similar to a summer camp, except it's located right in a traditional Thai village. So very cool, but it has modern amenities. It has internet cafe, it has air conditioning, it has, Western standard bathrooms and toilets. It's just beautiful. We have sports fields, we have a ping pong table, anything you could hope for, a basketball court. So that's a great place for first-time travelers. Another good program for first-time travelers is called Access to Education. This is located at our Hill Tribe Support Project base, which is much more rustic than the Rice Fields base, but it's also very suitable for first-time travelers. If you're prepared to deal with a little bit simpler accommodations, sleeping on mattresses on the floor, there's wooden houses, everybody has a fan, but it is with mosquito nets, shared bathrooms, that kind of thing. It's definitely a great program. Another good one for first-time travelers is our Elephants in Amazing Thailand program, and that one is a combination of you get to spend some time learning about elephant conservation, and you also get to spend some time touring. So for first-time travelers who are looking to also tour a bit and cover some ground, that's an excellent program.
Awesome, thanks Brian. And I'm glad that you mentioned our base houses because we do have base houses all over the world, not in every country, but we do have quite a few base houses that offer, like I said, typically a little bit more comfortable amenities. Sometimes some of them have pools. They often have sports fields like Brian mentioned. So that's something to look into. On the website, you can actually navigate and I can show you where to find all of our programs that run out of base houses. And that's a good place to start. How about in Australia? What are some good program suggestions for first-time travelers, Sam?
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. So we've got a few different options for programs for first-time travellers. If students are of the younger age, so sort of 12 to 13-year-olds, we've got a Young Explorers program that's a great introduction to travel and takes students throughout southeast Queensland and gets them involved in a whole range of community service, adventure and cultural experiences. Australia is a wonderful destination for travellers of any age, but for those younger students that are potentially travelling out of the country for the first time, even though it is a 14-hour flight from Los Angeles to get to Brisbane, once you're there, the surroundings, the country is quite familiar, and it's quite a comfortable country for students to visit to that doesn't sort of push them out of their comfort zone too far. Then for students that are sort of 14 to 18 years of age, it really depends on how adventurous students are and what they're looking to get out of their experience. For students that are, maybe a little bit more apprehensive about travelling on one of these programs, then we'd suggest a program like Aussie Surf and Service, which is sort of based at our base house facilities and sort of combines or involves less travel around the country while still packed full of adventure activities and community service and surf lessons, and is a great sort of introduction to Australian life. Or the zoo program, which is more geared towards students with an interest in wildlife conservation. But for those students who are sort of feel like they're ready to travel a little bit more while they're away from home, the Seven Wonders of Australia program is really the flagship program for us down here in Australia at the moment, and it takes students to sort of 3 distinct regions of the country. It is more of a travel-based program where students are sort of changing location every couple of days. So it's a little bit more intensive than the base house programs, but you see a bit more of the country as well. So it really depends on the individual student, and we'd be happy to sort of help find the right program for students if you reached out to our team directly.
Great, thanks, Sam. And we do have 4 programs specifically for our middle schoolers, so ages 12 and 13. They take place in China, Australia, Costa Rica, and the US. So we have options all over the world for that age group. I know for some families it seems a little bit young to travel, but this is actually a really great time to jump on one of these programs that are specifically designed for this age group to help them get their feet wet. They get a little bit of everything on these programs, so a little bit of community service, travel, touring, cultural activities, and kind of learn what it is to be a global citizen and what is global international service. So really great launching pad for some of our other programs elsewhere in the world. In Fiji and New Zealand, Evan, do you have a suggestion for a first-time traveler?
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. I think with Fiji, one of the first questions to answer is whether you're more interested in community service or adventure, and then that helps sort of define which trips you can look at that sort of achieve those goals. But for first-time travelers, if you're interested in community service, then certainly our Sun, Sand and Service program is a good option to look at. If you're more interested in adventure travel and seeing Fiji, then I would suggest the Big Fiji Explorer, which travels across 4 regions of the country and really gives a wonderful overview of both the islands and the interior of the big island of Viti Levu.
Awesome. And if you've been taking notes on the programs that we recommend in Australia and Fiji, one good thing to know is those 2 countries combine really well. So we'll talk a little bit about some suggested combinations, but just so you guys know, if you're new to Rustic Pathways, all of our programs are specifically designed to connect. So within a given country, they're going to begin and end on the same day in the same city, and even regionally, such as in the South Pacific or in Asia, they're going to begin on the same day in country. So it's really easy to hop a flight. We'll arrange all of that for you, make it a really smooth transition. And it's really common because our programs are 1, 2, and 3 weeks in duration. And it allows students to sort of build an itinerary. Maybe you're interested in a week of service working with kids and a week of service working with animals. You can find 2 of those programs. Like Brian mentioned, the Elephants in Amazing Thailand is a week of service with elephants and then a week of touring Thailand. It's a great little combination to get a little bit of both on your summer itinerary. So that's something to keep in mind as you're looking at programs. You can combine within a country super easy, and even regionally, if you wanted to do Australia with Fiji or Laos with Thailand, awesome option, and gives you 2 countries during your summer and a way to build the experience that you're looking for. So for those people who are joining us this evening, if you just joined us, remember to send your questions my way. I will be answering them throughout the presentation. And we will be recording this as well if you can't stay with us the entire time. But I do want to address some programs that are a little bit more of like a deeper dive, either culturally or a little bit more service intensive, something that's maybe next level that some of our alumni are looking for. And you can find that anywhere. We have a lot of programs, or a lot of countries have a full range of programs. But perhaps we'll start with Lexi in Cambodia. Do you have recommendations for alumni that are looking to get a little bit more of an advanced experience?
Yes, thanks, Jessie. So I'd have to say my personal favorite program that we offer in Cambodia is our Floating Village Service Expedition. It's definitely my personal favorite, and I have to pinch myself every time I go to that community. It is such an amazing experience. I would definitely suggest that for those looking for a different experience off the beaten path, because the whole community floats on water. So the houses are on water, the general stores on water, even the local schools floating on water. Our students will live in that community for almost a week, doing homestays and then working on our housing improvement project. So that service project will consist of building a new house for a family in need. Very rewarding experience. The community is so beautiful, and every year our students tell us they want to spend more time in that community. They don't want to leave. They don't want to go back to the city. It is rustic accommodation. You're going to be sleeping on mattresses with mosquito nets, bucket showers, but definitely worth it.
Awesome. Yeah, that is a beautiful part of the world. How about you, Amanda? Do you have suggestions for some of our alumni looking for a more advanced itinerary?
Absolutely. First, I'm going to answer for China, and then I'll answer for Mongolia. I'm really excited about our new program, China Rising. We're going to be going into northwestern China. And what's really cool about it is we're doing a desertification project. So students will be learning about these emerging deserts in Asia and how it's impacting the environment there and like the critical issues that are there. So I'm really excited about that. We're going to be in really, really rural communities. And so it's definitely not places that tourists get to go. Our country manager, Kevin Wong, is from this village. And so the connection to that community is really amazing. So I think that just like, if you want to get off the beaten path and see something that no one else has seen in China, that's definitely the program for China. Mongolia, I think both programs get you off the beaten path. You're either going with Off the Map Mongolia, you're staying in the main city, and then you go west, and we stay in a local village for 2 weeks, and we do community service, and we're like hanging out with the students that go to school, and the school that we support there. We're helping fix up houses and get ready for the winter. So all of our students, just like Alexi said, like never want to go back. They're like, we're going to live here forever. And then we remind them that, in the winter, it's like -50 degrees Fahrenheit there. And they're like, okay, we'll go back. And then our new program, Reindeer Herders and Gobi Sands of Mongolia, we're going to be doing a north-south trip. And so getting to the reindeer herders in Mongolia is a process to get there. And so it's definitely like a student who really wants to get this experience, but no other tour companies are doing it because you have to like get to these really small nomadic villages and know where the nomads are moving with their reindeers. And so it's an amazing experience. I've been able to get up and spend a lot of time with the reindeer herders. And every time I go up there, it's just like this stunning, you're like the only non-local in the village. It's a crazy experience there. So
that's awesome. Who hasn't dreamt about meeting a reindeer one day, right?
Right. In Mongolia.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, I'm glad that you also mentioned our critical issues programs, because we do have a series of programs for students. They are ideal for alumni, but new students alike if you have a passion for this kind of thing. These are issues that are facing your generation. So things like water conservation, race and religion, equality, gender rights, things like that. really, really powerful programs where you're going to dive deep into this particular topic. So they're not for everybody, but for someone who has an interest or a passion in this, this is something where you're really going to get a very powerful experience on these programs with leaders that can help you dive into that subject. We have them all around the world. I can show you where to find those on the website. Very cool programs. I know, Brian, you have a brand new program as well as the Critical Issues Summit that I'd like to have you highlight.
Yes, so many things I want to highlight. But yeah, I guess starting with some of our programs farther afield, we have a program called the Come With Nothing, Go Home Rich, which is become like a legendary Rustic experience. You come with as few things as possible, preferably just a carry-on size bag with some bug spray and sunscreen, and you buy everything you need at local markets, and then you visit 2 villages in Thailand, 1 village in Laos, which includes the trip includes a 2-day experience on the Mekong River on a slow boat. It's absolutely amazing, but it is full immersion, staying in, homestays, sleeping on the floor, working your butt off every day. But some of the most rewarding work you can find. That is an absolute legendary program. But in terms of new programs, we do have, a marine and rainforest conservation program in southern Thailand that we're very excited about. This is going to take you to some of the seldom seen areas in southern Thailand, learning about how globalization, how global warming is affecting the region, how it's affecting species, how it's affecting the rainforests, and just really analyzing the critical issues affecting these communities, looking at the impact of tourism, and there's some very interesting species down there. Is the Irrawaddy dolphins, like a pink dolphin that's very endangered, and there's also these large manatee type mammals called dugongs, which are down there. So you learn about how these things are affecting those communities. And last but not least, we do have the Critical Issues Summit, which is a very unique thing that we're launching this year. It's going to involve having probably 100 to 150 students all coming over to Southeast Asia, embarking on the first week is heading out to have kind of 7 different groups experiencing and confronting critical issues around the region, in Myanmar, in Laos, in Thailand, and looking at issues like dams, looking at issues like the movement of people, access to education and healthcare, and then after having a week apart, coming back to our rice fields base and having sort of like a seminar, which is also going to be a competition of trying to look critically and dynamically at these problems and trying to figure out plans for the future. How are we going to solve these concretely, and how are we going to really think about in terms of action steps and towards addressing these problems. So very excited to be launching that as well.
Yeah, I think as staff, we are all super excited about that as well. This is the first time we're offering such an experience in the summit. There is a special application process that you'll go through, and I can tell you where to find that information on the website. But also, as these questions arise, before you make your decisions on your programs, please remember that we have a team ready and willing and excited to answer all of your questions. So if you didn't get all your questions answered throughout this presentation, please always give us a call. That's what we're here for, and we love to walk you through any of our programs, add the details that you didn't get here, and then find the best fit for you. I would be remiss if I didn't have Lexi talk about our new program in Vietnam.
Yes, thank you, Jessie. So Vietnam, we have a new program that we're really excited about as well. It's called Hanoi to Ha Long. And when you think about Vietnam, you think about the beautiful landscapes and these unique experiences. So that's something we really wanted to highlight. It's a 2-week program, and it is fit for students who want some service aspect of their summer. So you'll start out in Hanoi, learn about the history, see the hustle and bustle of the city, and then head out to a beautiful nature reserve where the students will spend time living and working with host families and working with the community based on a need identified through our partners there. So spend a couple of days set in these beautiful areas, and then finishes the trip by heading down to Ha Long Bay. So they actually get to do a cruise, stay a couple nights on the cruise. You see the beautiful limestone karst, very awesome program. You get the service, and then you get the excitement as well.
Awesome, thanks. And if you haven't seen photos of Halong Bay, it's absolutely stunning. So I encourage you to do that after this presentation. We do have a question for New Zealand. As I mentioned, we have programs from middle school to college, and it looks like somebody is interested whether we have programs for high school students in New Zealand or just for gap year.
That's a really easy question to answer, Jesse. With our high school students, the one program that does include New Zealand is our Pacific Adrenaline trip. So Pacific Adrenaline's a 3-week program, very focused on high adrenaline activities, and you'll spend 2 weeks in Fiji and then a week touring the North Island of New Zealand.
Great. And we do have extra time for questions. We have a few more questions coming in before we hit the half-hour mark, because I know some people have to hop off here. I'm going to walk you through the enrollment process. As I mentioned, we have updated our website recently, so it does look a little bit different. Right here is the menu bar, this little sandwich menu up in the right-hand corner. This is where you're going to find all your information. There are 3 different sections for students, for educators, and for gap year. So on the student section, you can find all of our countries that we visit, the number of programs in each country, and then how it works. How it works actually has a ton of information. There's a lot of information encapsulated in these links here. How to enroll is also a really helpful link. If what I give you, the little presentation today, isn't enough, you can click here and it'll walk you through all the steps. And then the Enroll Now button right here. Another one to keep in mind is the types of programs. Here you can find all of our spring break, all of our young explorers, our college programs, our base house programs. If you're looking for a particular type, that's the place to click. And then over on the right here, you can find all of our new programs and then how to contact us. And you'll probably get myself or one of my wonderful teammates on the phone. So feel free to give us a call anytime. Right here, when you are ready to enroll, once you've finally made that important decision, you can click here, Enroll Now. It will give you some basic information. Click here again, and it's going to give you the application. If you're familiar with our application, it hasn't changed too much from last year, but if you're brand new, it's maybe 6 or 7 pages. It goes by pretty quickly. It's going to be students information, parent information, your program selection, then it'll walk you through the payment options. So if you have any issues or any questions about how this works, again, give us a call and we can answer those for you. And I'm going to hand it back over to country directors. Let's see if we've got any questions. It looks like we have a question about scholarships. So I will grab that one. We do offer scholarships for new students. These scholarships go to service programs. There is a section underneath that, how it works, or a link underneath how it works, where you can click to find out more information about all of our financial aid options. We also have a teacher appreciation program. If you're a teacher, definitely check that out. Our scholarships go to a select list of service programs that we don't announce beforehand. So we want you to be sort of open to different options, but we'll give you a list of 12 to 15 programs to choose from once you've been accepted for our scholarships. And there's 2 application deadlines for that. All of that information is on the website. We have another question about food options in our various countries. It is going to vary from country to country and even from program to program. Some programs are going to have a private chef and they'll cook all of their meals throughout the entire itinerary. Some programs will be eating out a lot at restaurants, and a lot of them are going to be a mix of the 2. One thing to keep in mind if you're at a base house program, and maybe Brian, you can talk a little bit more about the food in Thailand. Spoiler, it's amazing, but maybe at the base house, you can talk about how we do meals.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I think that one thing Rustic Pathways does extremely well by this point is accommodate various dietary restrictions. For example, at our base house, breakfast is the one meal in Thailand. Actually, Thai people eat a meal that's very similar to lunch and dinner at breakfast, but we understand that most of our students are looking for a normal breakfast option, what they have in mind. So our whole team, almost everywhere in the country, are very good at cooking pancakes, very good at cooking omelets. We always have granola, cereal, fresh fruit around for breakfast. And we can always, accommodate vegetarian, and on most programs, vegans as well. Many people are wanting gluten-free options these days too. We actually, at the Rice Fields base, for example, at our Hill Tribe Support Base. We have anybody with a special dietary request, we have a whole different area where gluten-free, vegan, vegetarian food is all available. And so you don't have to ever worry about it. You're always going to have fantastic food to eat, fresh, almost all ingredients in Thailand, never frozen, beautiful vegetables, a little bit of spice if you can handle it, and plenty of amazing options.
Awesome. Yeah, and it does vary quite a bit from country to country. So if you have specific dietary needs, give us a call. We can kind of direct you as to which one might be the most appropriate program. Amanda, for example, Mongolia can be a little bit more of a challenge. Do you want to talk about the food in Mongolia?
Sure. And so we have cooks with us in like specific areas, but they don't travel with us the whole time. We do eat a lot of meat, wheat, and cheese. And so I'm gluten-free, and we have staff who are like dairy-free. So if it's like one of those things, we can work around. And we have students who come to Mongolia who are vegan, who switch to being vegetarian while they're with us. It just makes it a lot more of it, like the food that's available it'll be a lot more delicious if it's a vegetarian option. But we accept like nut allergies, gluten-free. If you're allergic to one of the things of the three, meat, dairy, and gluten, like that's fine. But then when you start to get up to like allergic to two of the things, that's where we start having a little bit more of an issue. But we can talk you through it. We can talk, like all the country directors can talk you through all of your dietary restrictions. There's nothing we haven't heard before yet. I'm sure there'll be something new, but so yeah, we can accommodate almost everything in Mongolia these days.
Awesome. Yeah, and I do want to throw in a real quick pro tip about our early enrollment process. Whether you're a new student or returning student, that returning student deadline is coming up on September 16th, which means we always have a frenzy of more than 1,000 students that have waited to the very last minute till 11:59 to fill out their application. And it can be kind of a panicked process because everybody's trying to do the same thing. And you'll be surprised, there'll be some programs that right now show that they are wide open, and a day or two or three before that deadline, they sell out super quick. And so I would give you a tip, even if you're a new student and you technically have until October 14th, if you have your eye on a program, especially if it only has a couple sessions available or if it has a low maximum capacity, I would get in several days before that deadline, so you have time to give us a call if there's any issues, and you do get into that session that you really want before they sell out quickly. We do have a question about the mystery trip, and I cannot tell you too much about the mystery trip. The whole idea behind this program is that we are looking for families and students that are open to anything. So if you are open to anything, but you don't want to travel to Thailand because you've been there before, or Fiji because you've been there before, you have specific things that you're looking for, I recommend looking at any of our other 100 itineraries where you can know a little bit more about what you're doing. This is a program that what we can promise is it's going to be amazing. It's usually designed by our incredible staff that have a real intimate knowledge of the areas that you'll be traveling to. But it's going to be an adventure, and it's going to be something that you know very little about until the morning of each day, which I think is an incredible opportunity and super rare. But if you have specific things that you're looking for, we just don't want to compromise the integrity of the program. And so we'll guide you towards another program. But if you're open for everything, Mystery Trip is awesome. And then age limits, we do have programs from 12 to 22. High school programs, technically it's 14 to 18, but if you turn 19 during the school year and you're still in high school, that's okay. And same thing if you happen to be a younger student joining high school. It's more important the grade that you're in than technically your age. But we do have those age limits. If you have a question about that, give us a call and we can figure out whether it's going to be a good fit for you. And I'm just going to give another second. If we have any other questions coming in from audience members, I'll give you one more minute to send any last questions. And while I have you on the line, I just want to thank you again for joining us this evening. Hopefully this was some helpful information. If anything else comes up, please do give us a call. And I'll give you one more second. We've got another question coming in. Hope it was thanks for our panelists. So Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for our esteemed audience and panelists this evening. And I hope you have a fantastic evening. See you soon.